Rhonda, every time you open your mouth, you're proving that you're dumb as fuck. You clearly prove that you don't know what you're talking about, and your views are so warped because they're based on, like, this highly flawed logic and a lot of false assumptions. And you highlighted your ignorance yet again these last couple of days, and your ignorance is staggering when it comes to firefighters and the jobs surrounding them. Let's go back a couple of months. So there was this kid in town who liked to mow people's lawns. Apparently he had worked hard for this lawnmower. That's typically a sign of a responsible kid. He wasn't out, like, drinking and doing drugs when something bad happened. He was trying to mow some fucking lawns. And you need to understand that sometimes bad shit happens, and a freak thing happened. His lawnmower got stuck on the tracks. He was unharmed, and whether or not he should have crossed at those tracks isn't the issue at hand. That never was the issue at hand until you made it the issue at hand. This was not, a bad kid. So when the fire department posted about it, they said that they had some scary moments when they realized that it was a firefighter's son who was involved in this incident. And you shared their post, and you said that it showed the favoritism and the bias of the fire department. Fucking really? Like, I remember thinking, what are you even talking about right now? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about human emotion. In my job, I work in an emergency room. Sometimes people die. I don't lose sleep over it because I don't know those people. It sucks. You get a little bit choked up when the family arrives and, they learn that somebody died. But, you're fine. You are okay when it's not somebody you know. Unless it's a kid. It's a different story. So, it's the fact that it was somebody they knew. A couple of months ago, a very close friend of mine lost his daughter in a freak accident on the river. The situation surrounding the event was unbearable. The more details that came out, the more you realize that this was just not something that he will recover from. We were all so wounded. This wasn't my child. But it was a child of somebody I loved and I respected. Had this been a complete stranger's 14-year-old, I would have thought it was terribly sad, but I would not have spent, a month crying every single day. I wouldn't have, needed medication to sleep at night. My heart would not have been ripping out of my chest constantly, because it wouldn't have been somebody that I knew, somebody I knew that was going to be personally affected by this. That incident was followed immediately by the death of my 26-year-old brother. Another terrible incident, and it was in the news, and in the news story, they said 26-year-old man pulled from the river, something about man's body recovered from the river. And I remember thinking, like, this wasn't a man's body. What do you mean man's body? That sounded so cold to me. It was like, this was my brother. But then, you have to realize that the person writing the article didn't know my brother. So it was a man's body. That's, it wasn't an unreasonable post to make. It had nothing to do, with favoritism or anything like that. So, I feel sorry for you in this regard, because clearly you just don't have anybody in your life that means so much that means more to you than your agenda against firefighters. And that's pretty pathetic. So anyway, a little bit after this lawnmower incident, the community had gotten together and they raised money and they replaced this kid's lawnmower. I'm sure he had a lesson learned, whatever. And it was a heartwarming gesture. It was a community coming together and doing the right thing. It was an awesome thing. This was something that people should be proud of. This was a great thing. And your take on it was that he should be suffering consequences and that we give kids too much. How miserable of a human being do you have to be to see the world in that light? That is just so fucking sad, Rhonda. So, moving on to your more recent attack on the fire department, they posted that they had installed these fire stops above some stoves in some apartment complexes, and you shared the post and said, these people are just more people in Nevada living a lie and trying to make people afraid to challenge their choices. It is time to stop following like puppets. I suppose if you think a fire stop is a good idea, it means you're a puppet, whatever. The reality of this is it does not make people safer. It only puts them in more danger and enables irresponsible people. To say that these fire stops put people in more danger could be considered the pinnacle of Rhonda Applegate's stupidity. You say it enables irresponsible people. I suppose the giant leap there, the giant leap in logic, is that if you enable their responsibility, you're going to increase the likelihood that they would be more likely to leave their stove unattended. The problem with that ridiculous bit of logic is that it would require a conscious thought, an awareness, a thought of, I can leave my shit unattended because I have a fire stop. Which goes against the actual reason for a stove fire. They occur from a lack of conscious thought, a lack of knowledge. So your theory is bogus. Just, almost by definition, a fire from an unattended stove occurs due to an unawareness, a lack of the conscious thought that either the food is on the stove, you just forgot that the food was there, or B, that the food or method of preparation could pose a fire risk. These devices are made to save lives, and they're installed in apartment complexes where adjoining apartments are also at risk. And fine, somebody, Joe Schmo, should have checked on his roast. And a fire, occurred. But little Susie in apartment 315 shouldn't have to pay that price. Put simply, fire stops do not make anything more dangerous. The only effect that they can have is fire prevention. And I would like to point out that fire prevention is a job of the fire department. Resources and education from the fire department are not a bad thing. Here is just one more time that you're turning something positive, something good, something that brings the community together and gives them an identity as a community. You're turning this positive thing into something negative. So just stop already.